got one more person that we're waiting on. She's stuck in traffic, but for time purposes, so that we can get you all back to class after PLT, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, for those of you all who do not know, my name is Mr. Porter. I am the teacher sponsor for the Black Student Union. I also teach African American Studies and business classes here. So this is kind of a perfect bridge between those two worlds. So I decided to put on this particular event, the Black Entrepreneurship Panel, after watching a documentary or show, kind of, sort of, on Netflix. It's called, say it again?
I'm trying to figure out something.
All right, okay. It's called Trigger Warning with Killer Mike. And that sounds pretty violent, but Killer Mike is actually a rapper, also an activist. And he did an experiment where he tried to keep the black dollar to cycle in the community for a long period of time. So it's said that the black dollar stays in our community, meaning when you go and shop with somebody, it stays with a black business for 6 hours. Now that compares to other communities and drastically is different. So 21 days in the Asian community, 18 days in the white community. So what I want to just kind of promote here is the fact that you all have all of the potential in the world, and you all can do pretty much anything that you want to do. But there's a lot of value in ownership, and all of these people have great resources to tell you how to own your own business. They have great resources to tell you some of the struggles with starting your own business. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I'll let them kind of introduce themselves. Y'all want the microphone? No microphone? Y'all good? All right. Okay, all right. So
Start with
Start with me.
Sabrina in that building.
Good morning. Oh, this isn't.
is it on?
Just push it on.
Hello. Hello. Oh. Good morning. My name is Sabrina Washington. I own Elite Nannies of Nashville. It's a nanny agency here in Nashville. I also own a nanny agency in South Florida, where I'm from. It's called Nannies of South Florida. What I do is I meet with families, and I get to know them, and I figure out if we're going to be a good fit for them moving forward. And if we are, I reach out and I try to find them the perfect nanny for their family. So what's a nanny? It's not quite like a babysitter. It's actually a household employee, somebody who comes into the home and takes care of the children. It is, by the IRS standards, a job where you do receive a W-2 form and your taxes are paid for you. It's just like any other job, essentially. If you go through an agency like mine, I'll make sure that you have the best package available. So I'm going to make sure that you have insurance. I'm going to make sure that you have a contract with the family. I'm going to make sure that you are happy at your job, that you come to every day, and that you're being paid appropriately. As you may know, working in early childhood education in that field, it's probably one of the lowest paying positions in this country. But if you work with me, I'll try to get you the highest paying gig that I can get you. So that's what I do. My background is early childhood education. When I was in high school, I worked in a program where I left school early and I would go work at a preschool after school. And so that's where my love for kids came from. After I graduated from high school, I was a nanny. I worked for a family with an infant and a 2-year-old. And so that's where my love for it came from. I moved to Nashville when I was 21, and for the next 9 years, I worked in early childhood education. So I worked with children ranging from infant to about 3 years old. And then I became a director of a private preschool downtown, and that's where I got the idea to start my business. I was meeting with moms and dads every day who were asking if their child could come to my school, the school where I was the director. And I said, I'm so sorry, we don't have space for your kid. They're like, well, what do we do? Where do we go? And I was like, I don't know. But we don't have any space for you. And they're like, well, when will my baby be able to come to your school? And I'm like, it's probably going to be a year or two. And then that's when I got the idea. I said, you know what? 50 to 100 people are moving to Nashville every day. It's a booming city. Everybody wants to be here all of a sudden. I've been here 13 years. I watched it grow. why don't I start a nanny agency and help all of these people who are on this waiting list or on these waiting lists for childcare? And so that's what I did. I sought counsel, I started my own LLC, I quit my job, and I'd say about 2 weeks later, I had a business started. And so I just did it. You know, I was tired of working for other people, and I said, you know what, I could do this myself. I had never owned anything in my life. So I definitely got advice from people around me, other business owners, on how to start it and what to do, and then I got to networking. And so now here we are, 2.5 years later. We've worked with over 100 families at this point. I do bring on a lot of African American young ladies. And it's always great to know that, oh my gosh, you know, this girl was making $9 an hour at her local preschool, and now she's making $20 an hour working for one family, and she's happy. And so that makes me happy. So that's my way of giving back to the African American community, is making sure that African Americans have jobs. Obviously, I'm a huge advocate for African Americans and women, because that's what I am. So I want to make sure that we have the best of the best, since we're kind of the lowest of the totem pole. So yeah, that's what I do. If you have any questions, let me know. We bring on people that are 21 and older. However, we do have a babysitting program where I am bringing on people who are 18 and up. If you join the program with me, I can mentor you and make sure that you have the best experience. That way, by the time you are 21, I can get you into a good nanny job. And that would go well for people who are looking at majoring in early childhood education or education in general. We do bring on homeschool teachers if you decide that you want to have a teaching license. We bring on household managers and family assistants. These are people who run estates and households and make sure that everything runs smoothly. You're in charge of the staff, in charge of the home. These are folks who travel with different musicians and artists. These are people who travel the world on private planes. Being a nanny is not always, it doesn't look like The Help anymore, guys. You can travel the world working for really great families. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Good morning, good morning. My name is James Jenkins. I work with the U.S. Small Business Administration for the federal government. Our agency has at least one office per state, and different territories as well. They have offices. States like Texas, New York, Maryland, D.C., California, all have multiple offices. So basically, we assist entrepreneurs in the beginning stage, continuing to whenever, honestly. My position is I'm the first point of contact within my office. I see entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs, come in and they're wanting to start a business. I've seen all different types of fields. I've seen current business owners that have been doing their that have been owning their own business for a while, and then they want to grow. They want to continue to find some new endeavors. They want to they're trying to spread, they're trying to franchise their business. They want to do federal contracting. They need money to finance their business. They need free business counseling. One of the biggest things I take pride in is truly connecting the dots for people. You may have somebody that's coming in with a business plan, and you know they've been talking to somebody that's been charging like maybe $200 an hour for a business plan to get created or get looked at, when we offer the service for business plans to help get created for free. I've seen just entrepreneurs come in and just be totally discouraged, but then when they leave our office, I mean, they have a wealth of resources that are right there in front of them. So one of the things, our main things that we do is we provide assistance in regards to counseling, capital, and contracting. For the contracting side, has anybody ever flown before? Okay, so you go through TSA, right? You notice all those uniforms and some of the stuff that they wear and whatnot. It takes a small business to provide those uniforms, those badges, the equipment, all that stuff. All the stuff that they use comes from a small business. But let's break it down. Is everybody going to Slim and Huskies, for example? Right? Some of the best pizza, right? So Slim and Huskies, they get some of their items, their food, the different chicken, the vegetables, meats, all that stuff. They get those from farmers or different small businesses that happen to provide them those meats, the dough, all that stuff. So I've seen it. I've seen entrepreneurs younger than you guys. One example is a girl down in Texas has her own lemonade company, and basically she entered into a competition using her grandmother's old recipe and had certain ingredients within the lemonade, and it was healthy, it was different, and it actually had a good taste. And so there were some people around her, say, not Kroger, but what's Whole Foods. Whole Foods, for example, took up her lemonade and began to sell her lemonade within stores in Texas. And I think there's one Whole Foods location here that actually does sell her lemonade as well. So when you go to certain places, you go to certain stores or whatever, and you see some of the different items, like if you're getting Coke, for example, like your teacher mentioned from Killer Mike's trigger warning, there was one episode in particular that mentioned the gangs, the Blood Crips. They began to sell, they understood how Coca-Cola, for example, the ingredients and whatnot that were made within Coca-Cola, and seeing that it's not good for you. So they ended up creating their own brand of Coca-Cola and began to sell it, because they learned from another gang that was also doing the same and being able to profit from based off of their name, the Hells Angels. So, I mean, it's a truly interesting episode. But it goes into play about entrepreneurship and how to get things going and how to start, how to market your brand. One of my favorite movies is The Founder. The Founder tells the story about McDonald's, how they started and franchised into what they are today. So, I mean, supporting your small businesses is key. Supporting small businesses, because you can, I have a buddy of mine that provides training. I'm from an athletic background, so a friend of mine, he started his own training grounds for up-and-coming athletes on up to senior citizens that are just trying to learn how to balance themselves. You would be surprised of how many small businesses are out and about in this town and how many people thrive from it. So we'll get going a little bit more, I'll kind of break down a little bit further, but support your small businesses. You might even have the potential of even starting your own business. But a little later, once we get into it, entrepreneurship may not be for you, and we'll tell you a little bit more later.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Bill McCluskey, and I'm the founder of MyTech Partners. And MyTech is a telecommunications company based in downtown Nashville. And who knows what telecommunication means? Anybody? Yeah. So telephone, right? Telecommunications, telephone, television, but also internet service can be included in that. So our company, we help businesses shop for internet, phone, and TV service, and we represent a bunch of different carriers. So in the world of telecommunications and cable companies, nobody wants to deal with Comcast. Are you all aware of that? Like, Comcast customer service is terrible, okay? Just ask your parents, right? Or they don't want to call like the big phone company, AT&T, because the customer service isn't too favorable. So what we've done with businesses is we prevent them to have to even deal with Comcast or AT&T or any national carrier like that. They can come to us and they can shop all the carriers at once to get their internet, phone, and TV service, and they can order the service through us, and they can even get support, tech support through us. So they never have to deal with the carrier. They never have to call the 800 number and be on hold and deal with lousy customer service, because that's pretty frustrating. So we really work to save our clients a lot of time and money and simplify that process. And really, when being an entrepreneur is about solving a problem. It's finding a problem, or finding what I like to call the gaps and solving that problem. Because a lot of times, you may see businesses or entrepreneurs out there with an idea, but if that idea doesn't really solve a problem, you don't have a business. Somebody's going to want you to solve their problem. And the better you solve the problem, the bigger the opportunity is, or potentially the more money you could make. So if you look at big companies now like Uber, right? Who's ever taken an Uber in here? Right? So Uber solved a really big problem, because before, I think now, what did we do before Uber, right? But before, we used what? You used a taxi, or you had to ride the what? The bus, right? Or you did what? You walked, okay? So taxis were really, they're pretty expensive, and they took forever to show up, and they were kind of dirty, right? And the driver wasn't always too nice, right? So that was a big problem, right? And it was kind of a hard industry to get into. Like, if you wanted to start a taxi company, you had to have a lot of money, you had to buy the licensing and all this stuff and get approved. And the taxi industry was like, look, nobody's really going to penetrate this industry. We got it on lock. Well, somebody became innovative, and they created some technology that really circumvented the whole taxi industry. And now I got a buddy that's an attorney for a taxi company here in town, and he said because of Uber and Lyft, the value of the taxi company went from $2 million down to about $300,000. So I mean, it's just disrupting that industry. But think of another industry. Y'all ever heard of Blockbuster? Y'all may be too young. Y'all ever heard of Blockbuster? Yeah. Okay, so Blockbuster used to rent DVDs, right? So there was a Blockbuster up the street from my house back in the day. I used to go there. You could get 5 DVDs for how much? $5, right? You go to the dollar bin, but guess what? You had to do with the DVDs. You had to return them. And if you didn't return them on time, you were charged a late fee, right? So that's how they made money. You pick the DVD up, take it back, you're renting DVDs. But guess who came and disrupted that industry? Like companies like Netflix, right? Streaming, right? So believe it or not, they were really solving a problem, because Netflix went to Blockbuster when they were a small company and said, hey, listen, we got this digital streaming thing and we think it's going to be really big. Why don't we be the digital arm for a Blockbuster? What do you think Blockbuster said? Get on about it, right? But guess who's killing it now? Netflix, and Blockbuster got like one store. Okay? So my point is, starting a business, thinking about being an entrepreneur and having an idea is really about disruption and really about solving a problem. And the better you are at identifying and solving the problem, the more potential or success you could have as an entrepreneur. But I think now, are we going to questions now? So if you got, are we doing questions now? Or, okay. So if you guys have any questions about what we just said, or here we go.
All right, questions? Anybody got questions? Azaria?
What was your inspiration to kind of go into entrepreneurship? Was it role model, or was it just things that
Yeah, I think for me personally, when I was a preschool teacher, I was making like $8 an hour, and when I was a preschool teacher, I was making about $8 an hour at the beginning. I think the most I ever made as a preschool teacher was about $13.50 an hour before taxes. It's not a lot of money. And what motivated me was the fact that I was poor. So I just wanted to make more money. But I love children and I love helping families. I just needed to figure out a way to make more money doing it, you know? So I left what I was doing and decided to kind of go behind the scenes and get more personal, you know, start working with families one-on-one. My biggest inspiration ever in life is Oprah Winfrey, mostly because she came from literally nothing, and she's now the richest Black woman in the world. And she did that doing what she does best, talking. I mean, she's literally just being herself. She didn't have to change anything about who she was, and she still became successful. So she's my biggest inspiration. Locally here, Nashville's got a lot of entrepreneurs here. One in particular was this one young lady that I knew. She started a company called Enchanted Entertainment, and it's just princesses. It's just girls dressing up as princesses and doing birthday parties. And she was making bank, and she was like 24. And she was just sending people to different people's homes and dressed as a princess and doing birthday parties. It seemed really simple and fun, and I played Princess Tiana for many years with her. But through her, I was like, listen, if she can start a business, then I know I can. So I just sat down and talked with her. I was like, what did you do? I'd love to pick your brain, you know what I mean? And so just making connections like that, that was my inspiration. But my motivation was helping people and working smarter, not harder. That was my thing. I worked really, really hard all the time, and I was so tired, and I had nothing to show for it. And I was like, what's a smarter way for me to make money? I want to be making money while I'm asleep, you know? And so that was my motivation and my goal, for sure.
Yeah. So for me, my motivation was primarily, I was really frustrated at my job. Before I started my tech, I worked at Comcast. So I was a salesperson at Comcast Business. So I sold the businesses. So, you know, very similar to what we do as a business now. And, you know, I thought I was doing really well at Comcast. You know, I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life. And, you know, we had an expense account. They gave me money every month for gas. They gave me an iPad, a cell phone, computer. You know, they gave me all these, you know, perks. But I realized that when a management position came up, and I was one of the top 25 reps in the whole company, right? When a management position came up, I thought I was an obvious choice. And I wasn't, you know? And then another management position came up. I thought I was going to get promoted. I didn't, even though I was top in the office, one of the top guys in the country. So I realized it was a big political game. You know, you had to play that little game in corporate America, and I was really frustrated about that. And so it was at that point I actually started my company when I worked at Comcast. And I had this plan to exit with, you know, having saved up a certain amount of money, and they found out that I started this company. So my boss came to me and he said, hey, I need to talk to you in my office. Y'all ever heard that before, by the way? I need to see you in my office. So anyway, I go to his office, and he's in there with HR. I'm like, oh, they got me, you know. So he's like, I understand you started this side business, and you know this can't continue, and we're gonna have to suspend you with pay. So they were gonna suspend me, y'all, and still pay me. But I had resolved, you know, I had made a decision that I was not fulfilled, you know, on this job, and what I really wanted to do was be in control of not only my income, but be in control of my time and my destiny, really. So I told him right there, I said, you don't have to suspend me, I quit. You know, I'm out, and I left, and the next week I started, you know, building my business full time at that point, and haven't looked back. So it's been 5 years now. But I think after 5 years, we've gotten a lot of traction in our industry. We've had some success. What really motivates me now is inspiring or helping other people find their purpose, especially if they want to be entrepreneurs. I actually wrote this book called Get Off Your Assets. And this book is about my entrepreneur journey. Because a lot of times when people think entrepreneurship, they think, okay, I have an idea or I have a product or a service that I want to sell and I want to make some money. But what some people don't realize is that your best assets are inside of you. You know, we think we need some external things to get started, like money or other resources or contacts. But what you have in you is the seed of greatness. And if you develop that, and if you access that and nurture it, when you're using and you're being yourself, like she said, Oprah's just being herself. When you use what you already have, you can maximize your opportunities as an entrepreneur. So that's what the book is about. And my goal is to really help people understand that and really maximize what they already have so that they can launch the business that they want to build.
Okay. If you can stand up for us so that we don't have to like that.
So my question is, when do you know it's time to leave what you're doing that you are passionate about? So if you are like, if you have a job that you're working from 9 to 5, when do you know that it's time to leave that job and know that your business is already doing well and that you don't need to do that job?
So let me make sure I understand your question. When do you know it's the right time to leave your 9-to-5 job?
Yeah. Like
When you, yeah.
Like, at what point, like, what are the signs that tell you
Yeah.
that your business is doing so great? that you
Absolutely.
don't need that job?
Yeah, that's a good question. And another way to look at that question too, because I had a buddy of mine come to me and ask, should I stay in school? I got this business, right? Should I stay in school or should I build this business full time? And so to me, it's an easy decision most times. And it's about the money. Yup, it's about the money, okay? Because you don't need to jump out and leave your job if you're not making money. And so an example of that is when I worked at Comcast, I started my company when I was there. My goal was to, number one, save up a certain amount of money, okay, so that I had about 3 to 6 months, worth of living expenses saved up. But I also wanted to have traction or momentum in my business too. I also wanted to have customers that were already paying me, right? So that I had some runway or some time frame where if I had some setbacks, I could still pay my bills and all that. But my advice would be to match your income on your job. See if you can match your income on your job with your business, then that's an indicator that, hey, let's start thinking about leaving. But you also have to look at what's your real take-home pay, okay? Because if you have a business, you're not taking all that money home. You got expenses like marketing, or you may have some people that you have to pay, or you got taxes. So you got to think about all those things. But it's about an exit plan. So you have to plan it. You got to plan it. But it's definitely about the money. Mark Zuckerberg left Harvard. You know why? He left college. He dropped out of college because what? They were making money. Or they raised money. They raised $500,000, right? Initially, so he had reason to leave. Steve Jobs, same thing. Michael Dell, I don't know if you're familiar with Dell Computers. I see a lot of Macs in here, but Dell, he left college because he was making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, so if you're doing that, okay, let's go. But if you're making $20, I need you to stay on your job, okay, and get your degree.
I was gonna answer it too, because my answer is completely different from yours, Bill.
Hey, that's cool.
I'm an Aquarius. I just do what I feel in my heart, and my advice for anybody who's like, when should I quit my job? When should I leave? First of all, there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. If you have a job that you love and it happens to be not being an entrepreneur and working for someone else, and you love it, stay at your job. We need you. Like, you wouldn't even have a teacher if people didn't do 9 to 5s. Like, stay at your job. It's very hard work owning your own business. I quit my job. In my mind, I had the plan that Bill said. I was like, I'm gonna give myself 6 months before I quit. I'm gonna use my vacation time. I'm gonna do all this stuff. I quit after, I think, 2 weeks. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I followed my heart. Now, everybody has a different thing that they want to call what they feel. Some people say it's your conscience. Some people say it's your gut. I felt it in my gut. Some people will say, I don't know, it's just something pulling me, pushing me, whatever it is. Go with that. That's my personal thing. Now, I did a lot of things to make sure that I was going to be okay. I cut down my cost of living by a lot. I sold things. I did side jobs. I did all kinds of things the first year that I was running my business. I didn't just, make the money overnight. Now, I did a lot. I sacrificed a lot, but I was willing to do that because I was so much happier. I was so much happier not working my 9 to 5 that my happiness was more important than what was in the bank. That's just my personal. I don't think everybody, and I think sometimes for women, it's a little bit different from men. I feel like men are all about numbers. Women are more about how we feel, right? We're like, if I'm not happy, I'm just not doing it. And that's how I was. I was like, I hate it here. I don't want to do this anymore. And so the plan was to just downsize my cost of living extremely, which I did. And so it worked out. But I don't think there's one right way. I do think it is important though, like, to really know who you are. Get to know yourself. Really, who am I? Like, because if you don't know who you are, don't even bother starting your business. You'll fail. You gotta know who you are. So that's what I would do. Or that's my advice on that.
How do you push your academically
Academics, for me, I mean, I went to a HBCU up in Kentucky State. Got my bachelor's in political science and then my master's in public administration. So, man, like I've been around the political side and just the federal government and whatnot. But then when it came to kind of going further and finding out, who I was and stuff, I truly just wanted to help people. I wanted to help people. And it's the entrepreneurs that you have here and also throughout the city. I mean, besides the academics, it's also getting that experience. Experience is key. Experience is key. The entrepreneurs, seriously, use your time wisely during high school and going into college. But then if you're not going into college and you decide to go into a trade, get that experience. That's what you see. That's why you see a lot of entrepreneurs saying construction or car maintenance. Entrepreneurs that are doing services for, the one way that we get around, of course, is we use government vehicles. So we rely on different companies and whatnot to either fix our vehicles or either to purchase our vehicles from. And then after a certain point, of course, we auction them off. But get that experience. There was a restaurant I think, off of Murfreesboro Road, and another young high school student had asked me, he said, how do I get experience? Or I said, listen, if you want to continue going into college, understand the business, get that business degree, understand how that works. And then at the same time, get that experience, work in the kitchen of your mother's restaurant, and then understand how that works. And then you can market and boost your mother's restaurant eventually once you want to take it over, right? Because franchising is key at the same time, especially within this city. Jenny's Ice Cream franchise, Slim and Husky's franchise, Edley's Barbecue franchise, Seafood Sensation franchise, Hattie B's franchise. I know it's just the restaurant side, but it's like, get that experience and then also get the academic side so that way you're still learning. You're building yourself in both areas. So experience, academics, and as a former athlete, please make sure somebody pays for your academics as well. So if you're going to college, make sure somebody gets it paid. You get it paid for. Find any way you can to make sure to not have to worry about having to pay loans later back in life.
What would y'all have to say to young black men and young black women who are scared to start their own business
Because of your race?
Yes.
So I work in the higher end, right, of early childhood education, development, things like that. People who are hiring nannies are paying $15 to $25 an hour. So these people have money, right? These people are people who are paying people $40,000 to $60,000+ a year and still living great lives. These people, are living in $1 million homes. So I work in a high-end industry, right? I'm the only black nanny agency owner in town. Everyone else is white. They're just white ladies with blonde hair. They're very cute. They have their family, their husbands, and their kids. And then there's me, and I love it. Use it to your advantage. What's great is over the phone, nobody knows what I am, right? Because I'm code switching like you would never believe. My name is Sabrina. It's great. So when I go to meet with these people in their homes, right? When I go to meet with people in their homes and I knock on the door and they open the door, they're like, oh, hi, hey, and I'm like, hello, hi. You know, I love surprising people. I love it. I love when I go to their homes, they don't know that it's gonna be a black lady. And my hair is natural, it's pulled back today, but when it's out, it's even better. It's like, oh, a lady with an afro at the door. I love it. Because what's great about it is, I get to show them a different side of what they might have thought about me had they seen me in a store or walking down the street. I get to show them a different side of the business. I get to show them a different side to whatever stereotype they have. I love it. We'll sit down, we'll talk, and you know what? It's my selling point. They'll say, Sabrina, it was between your agency and another one, but I went with you. They won't say why, but I know why. It's because, I'm different. I'm giving you something different, and I'm giving you 14 plus years of experience. I've got the experience behind it, like he was saying before. So I know what I'm talking about. I'm confident. So don't ever let your race play a factor. I am really big about non-discriminatory things. How do you say that word? Discriminatory. That's a word. When I send profiles, nanny profiles to families, I don't send any pictures. I only send their first name and what they've done. I send their experience. I don't give people the option to look at a picture and go, nope, I don't want that black one. Or no, I don't want the overweight one. Or no, I don't want this. Nope. I send you whatever. They can have tattoos coming down their neck. They can have green hair. They can be black. They can be white. They can be Asian. It shouldn't matter. What matters is the experience. And so that's how we run our business, and it's fantastic because I have girls who look one way and girls who look another way, and I have some guy nannies as well. We call them mannies, but we don't discriminate, and it's worked in our favor. So take what makes you different, especially in a place like Nashville that's very white. Take what makes you different and use it to your advantage. Like, it's all about confidence. It really is all about confidence at the end of the day. So, do I sometimes feel a way? Yeah, but I just push through it. Sometimes I do feel a little intimidated, but I just push through it. And plus, I get to see a lot of really nice homes too. I love that part. Just the other day, I was in literally a $2 million home. I was like, and I play it off so well. Like, I'll walk in the door and I'll be like, this is a really nice house. And then I'll just sit down. I won't be like, oh my God. What I really want to be is like, wow. I'm always like, oh, nice home. All right, let's sit down. You ready to talk? Like, I act as if that house is mine, So build up, but again, that goes back to knowing who you are, right? You know who you are, it doesn't matter what color you are. You got this.
And in addition to what Sabrina said, your question is really, your question is, what's your question again? I mean, it's like, okay, say your question one more time.
What advice would y'all give to young black men and young black women who are scared to start their own business because they're black?
Yes. So let me just say this. You should not be scared to do anything because you're black. Okay? And if you look at, it's Black History Month, right? So if you look at black history, let's just look 100 years ago. In 1919, most people were self-employed. Like if you go down to Jefferson Street now, where College Crib is, and Seafood Sensations, there are black businesses there, but Jefferson Street was full of black businesses, thriving, big time. I mean, you had doctor's offices there, dental offices, attorneys, grocery store, hotel, black-owned hotels, venues. So I mean, if you think about it, your ancestors were natural entrepreneurs. I mean, they were farmers. I mean, think about that. My grandparents, both of them were farmers. On both sides of my family, they were farmers. So when I used to go visit them when I was young, like the food that we ate for dinner, they grew it. They had chickens out there. You know what I'm saying? If we wanted chickens, my granddad, like for real, went out there and cut the head off the chicken, defetted that joint, boiled it, let's go. And that's what we was eating that night. And guess what? If people down the road needed food, guess what happened? They sold it to them. So I don't want you to be hesitant about doing anything because of your race. Now, what's happened in America is called systemic racism, right? So it's a seed of doubt that's planted sometimes in us to think that we can't do certain things because of our race or because we don't have the resources or whatever. You can do absolutely anything. If somebody like Oprah can be born in Mississippi, poor, didn't even have running water when she was a young girl growing up in Mississippi, and then, you know, was promiscuous as a teenager, got pregnant, had a baby who was born, stillborn, and became a billionaire? Are you kidding me? There's nothing you can't do. So don't be scared to do anything. I see. Is this the basketball team there? Y'all play soccer. Okay. The basketball. I mean, like, if you want to go, I got a 10-year-old son. He wants to go to the NBA. I'm like, all right, let's go. All right, we need this money. You know what I'm saying? You got to put in the work. Yup. You got to network. You got to build relationships. You got to be disciplined, be focused, have a skill, and develop that skill. But guess what? There's nothing you can't do. Race, I don't want to hear it. Make it happen.